What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. And holy banana nut muffin on a Sunday morning. This is crazy. We're, of course, talking about the updates around the crazy story that came out yesterday with Scarlett Johansson suing Disney over her contract, breach of contract situation. I did a first video on that yesterday. I'm sure many of you watched that and just saw other videos or articles or tweets about this. It is a pretty crazy situation. And so I want to go over a couple of different things with you guys. First of all, let's talk about Disney clapping back, because they absolutely did. And honestly, in a pretty savage way. And a lot of people are kind of pointing this out. They're like, this is ugly. And it's probably going to get even more ugly from here. Drama. Okay, it says here, Disney fires back at Scarlett Johansson, calls Black Widow lawsuit sad and distressing. Yo, you ever been called sad and distressing? Me neither. That sucks. There is no merit whatsoever to this filing, Disney said in an unusually fiery statement. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the pandy, son. And that is pretty freaking crazy. The company went on to state that the star has already received $20 million for her work and argued that the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she has received to date. Disney did not provide any information about whether or not Johansson's pact was renegotiated so that she could share in the streaming rental revenue. In March, Disney announced that Black Widow and several of its 2021 films, such as Cruella and Jungle Cruise, and by the way, we're going to talk about this in just a second, but Emma friggin' Cruella lady, she may be aiming up a lawsuit of her own. This just came out, and crazy. We're going to talk about that as Emma Stone. We're going to talk about that as well. They're talking about the box office and stuff here. Down here it says, it's no secret that Disney is releasing films like Black Widow directly onto Disney Plus to increase subscribers and thereby boost the company's stock price. And that is hiding behind the Rona as a pretext to do so, says John Berlinski, an attorney for Johansson, in a statement made to Variety. But ignoring the contracts of the artist responsible for the success of its films in furtherance of this short-sighted strategy violates their rights, and we look forward to proving as much in court. This will surely not be the last case where Hollywood talent stands up to Disney and makes it clear that whether the company may pretend, it has a legal obligation to honor its contract. So we went over some of that yesterday. Again, here's Emma Stone, Cruella about to sue as well. And I want to talk about Kevin Feige's comments. There's a lot to get into here, guys, but let me just kind of stop for a second here. I want to kind of just explain that really what this is about, presumably, is the fact that this lawsuit, they are alleging that putting Black Widow on Disney Plus as a simultaneous release and using all of this talent to bolster its numbers on streaming service to then get more money for shareholders, because really it's all about that big chunk of the attention economy and streaming moving forward. As I've said to you guys many, many times, it's just the writing's on the wall. This is the future, and these companies are pivoting, in my opinion, correctly, maybe callously for sure, but correctly with the data that they have and with the way that the industry is going to change. So basically, Scarlett and her legal team they don't just want a chunk of that $60 million that was made from the purchases. They want some of the subscription revenue, apparently. That's really what this is about. And that is very, very interesting. Something that's sort of not yet to be determined with Disney and these studios and how that all works. Because, of course, yeah, the subscription money, that's where the real money's at, right? That's where the real money's at. And it's like this fight now. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I feel like that's a little out of pocket for Scarlett and her team. You know what I mean? Like, technically, all the movies that have ever existed for Disney and now Fox in that licensing deal, that's all Disney Plus contract or content. So now do we have to go back and figure out for the rest of time how to pay a chunk of subscription models to have access to this library? I mean, that seems absurd to me, right? But that's kind of what Scarlett's team is proposing there. I'm wondering what you think about that in the comment section. So definitely stop for a second and let me know what your thoughts on that. Now let's get back into some of the crazy things that's going on, because, I was sort of talking about this yesterday, guys, but we live in a completely different world than we did pre Rona Roni, and it's It's obvious, right? It's obvious. Disney would not be getting this kind of flack, and now with like literally Emma Stone possibly aiming up a lawsuit as well. One must wonder if The Rock and Emily Blunt will get involved, right? And, you know, you start to think about some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes, right? With Robert Downey Jr. not following any of his or unfollowing his co-stars at Marvel, with Robert Downey Jr. not returning to voice Tony Stark in the What If series, and a lot of just strangeness going on. You know what I mean? Like Scott Derrickson, when he left Doctor Strange, he was really cool about it. But then he's making sort of underhanded comments about getting the freedom he wants as a real filmmaker or whatever with his new film. And, you know, I found this really interesting. I'll show you. Dave Bautista literally chimed in. And this is the real Dave Bautista. I couldn't believe this. He's retweeting an article from The Hill talking about what's going on here and literally says, told him they should have made a Drax movie, but no. Bro, no love. No love for Disney. Like, this just feels like he's airing everything out. I don't know if he's necessarily just crapping on Disney. I think he's a little bit making fun of the whole experience. But, bro, he's literally saying, like, I told him to make a Drax movie. I would have settled for way less than 20 mil. This is crazy, and it's kind of, like, hilarious that it's just coming out about Disney. Look, in the lawsuit that's being proposed or whatever, the comments made by Emma Stone, she's saying that she's weighing her options, but Disney is notoriously difficult to deal with. And here's really what it is. It's like a death of 1,000 cuts for Disney. Because Disney, like, frankly, like, I consider myself to be pretty fair. Bro, they have a horrible reputation. Just in the last 6 to 9 months, a lot of the stuff that's come out about them and a lot of the different things coming out, like whether it was Brubaker talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and the lack of compensation for writers, whether it's the stuff with Mulan and the stuff going on in China, whether it's Star Wars employees and Lucasfilm employees coming out and besmirching their own fans. Like, dude, Disney is really on this sort of edge of just, I think, as far as a public image, kind of coming undone. Like, it's funny how all of this can happen, but if a lot of people in Hollywood and a lot of social people that have influence and that people enjoy and like and listen to and believe turn on Disney, bro, that hurts. That's going to hurt them in a lot of different ways. And at this point, I'm kind of wondering, like, are they just going to get Shamook to just recreate digitally all the actors? Are we done with flesh and blood actors? Is it just going to be robots from here on out? And are they completely cutting out, like, actual human beings because of the crazy situation that we are now in? I don't know. But let's now talk about Kevin Feige's comments, guys. Another crazy element to this whole situation. It's so bizarre, but I want to just talk about this right here. Comic Book reported on a newsletter from Matthew Bellani, a former editor of The Hollywood Reporter, who broke down the lawsuit filed by Scarlett Johansson over the release of Black Widow. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was specifically noted as being unhappy about the film's hybrid theatrical streaming release strategy. And even while Feige is known as a company man, he was said to be angry and embarrassed after pushing against the day and date release plan for the Black Widow release, preferring an exclusively theatrical debut, not wanting to upset his talent. Feige was adamant about wanting Disney to make this right with the MCU star. So this is pretty wild, dude. It says here, Feige is a company man and not prone to corporate showdowns or shouting matches, but I'm told he's angry and embarrassed. He lobbied Disney against the day and date plan for Black Widow, preferring the big screen exclusivity and not wanting to upset his talent. And then when the crap hit the fan, the movie started tanking and Johansson's team threatened litigation. He wanted Disney to make this right with her. Feige has been adamant through the entire Phase 4 release process about wanting the MCU's theatrical movies to remain exclusively in theaters at the start. This passion was shown not only for the stars of Black Widow and other Phase 4 outings who had expected and wanted big screen experiences, but also for the fans that make this franchise's success possible. Even considering extenuating circumstances forced Marvel into this position, which is something I talked about yesterday. It's like that hand of God clause that's in a lot of contracts. Black Widow quickly became the most pirated movie of the year, thanks to its immediate debut on Disney+. This is in large factor as to why the box office numbers have suffered tremendously. Feige has put his love for the Marvel Universe on full display for more than a decade, and he's always been one to give the studio's stars every opportunity to succeed with Marvel stories, considering all the trouble Black Widow has experienced since its debuted, his anger seems to be directed towards making sure stars like Johansson are treated the way they deserve. While Marvel is going back to an exclusive theatrical release with Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, I wouldn't be so sure about that, by the way. In September, this saga will be one to pay close attention to before Black Widow's run in theaters comes to an end. Black Widow is now playing in theaters and available through Premier Access on Disney+. Okay, a couple of crazy things about this. First of all, when I first read the headline here, and I'm wondering if you're the same, when I first read that headline, I assumed he was clapping back at Scarlet. Doesn't seem that way. Seems like Feige is literally saying, I mean, he's not saying it, other people are reporting sort of his indicated feelings about this, but that he's really not happy that Disney put the movie into theater or into Disney Plus Premier Access, and B, that they didn't make things right with Scarlet when things happen. Now, here's the deal. Normally on this, I'm like the silver fence sitter. To me, my fence, and then I sit upon it. But in this situation, I'm actually here to tell you that I think that Kevin Feige and Scarlett Johansson are both wrong. I actually think they're both completely underestimating what is actually happening with not only the theater experience, but with the entire entertainment industry moving forward. Now, I talked about this in the video before. I'm pretty adamant that the way we're going, like, the future is the future. You know what I mean? Like somebody said in the comments on the other video, like, you don't get to choose how your business is disrupted. And that's 100% true. And look, Disney, again, has a lot of stains on their reputation. They should have made this right, probably just for the PR, honestly. They probably should have just cut her a check, did whatever they had to do. But frankly, the idea of taking subscription money and compensating stars of movies that way, that seems like a breach of contract to me. That seems absurd. So I don't know, man. Like, I understand that Feige loves his talent. I understand Feige wants the theaters to be this big, crazy thing. But I also completely understand the Disney brass, especially because, dude, they are looking at data that, like, Scarlett Johansson ain't looking at. Kevin Feige's not looking at that data. He's too busy creating the MCU and doing all that kind of stuff, right? Dude, I'm just telling you, if you're looking at the data and you're Disney and you're fighting again, because it's not about the here and now. It's about 5 years from now. They're trying to get and corner a part of the market and own it as we move forward into the decades of crazy, crazy entertainment. Things are blowing up and getting just weirder and weirder and different every day. Look at the numbers of viewers for the Olympics. Look at how many people are watching sports live compared to the way that they used to. Guys, it is just, we are at a precipice of total and complete and utter change. And again, I strongly feel that the people in Hollywood are polishing the brass on the Titanic. They don't fully understand what is happening. And this lawsuit and even Kevin Feige's disappointment in what is happening from Disney's perspective, I do not think is fair. I feel like the clauses in contracts that are like those hand of God clauses, and we even talked about that in this video, that stuff, this is exactly what it's for. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it's for. And if I were Disney, I would have had a very clear and hard conversation with Scarlett. And I don't know, it seems like maybe they didn't, but I would have explained that. I would have said, like, Scarlett, all of our verticals have been massively hit. As a company, we are looking at data that indicates that the entire entertainment industry is about to flip. We cannot pay you what we were going to pay you because we live in a different world now. A totally different world. And on top of that, I think it's laughable, frankly, honestly, and I'm not trying to be a dick to Scarlett, right? But I think it's laughable to say that she would have made $50 million off of the Black Widow movie. I think the Black Widow movie would have had trouble hitting $400, $500 million, even in a perfect world. That's just my opinion. But that's what I think, man. I'm like, dude, Black Widow ain't it. It was a movie that should have been made a long time ago. If anything, sue them for that. You know what I mean? And so I think the biggest takeaway is, just to wrap it up here, clap back from Disney. Feige's comments coming out, sort of throwing shade at Disney as well. A lot of bad looks for Disney. Dave Bautista getting in on it. A lot of people getting in on it. I mean, look, not a lot of love for Disney out there, and I understand it. They kind of suck. But at the same time, I got to be completely fair about this. This seems ridiculous to me. I feel like Scarlett's out of pocket. I feel like Kevin Feige a little out of pocket for saying what he said. I always want to stand by my talent. I always want to do that. And I understand that maybe that's a PR thing as well. Like he, in some ways, needs to get ahead of that because his relationship with talent is really important as the president of the company. Guys, developing story, though. Who knows where we go from here? Other lawsuits? What if Feige, and I don't think this is anywhere near on the table, but what if Feige resigned? What if Feige resigned? And he went over to DC with James Gunn or something. I mean, look, I don't know. Crazy times we live in, guys. Again, like this video if you liked it. If you want to stay up to date on all this crazy, nerdy stuff, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the live streaming channel where we live stream every day, Monday through Friday at 10:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. It's always a good time over there. And again, let me know your thoughts about this crazy situation in the comment section below. Coming at you with a Shang-Chi video later today and hopefully a couple of videos over the weekend as well. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.